I want to call it social listening, but it's a little bit more than that. Going out and seeing what people are saying and collecting really a lot of different quantitative data is great. Understanding different data sets is really wonderful. But I really find that when we're developing a strategy on how to reach a specific audience, going out and getting that qualitative information, we're working on an eye drop for dry eye and helping reach more people who have dry eye. And so we're looking at conversations that are going on in subreddits on Reddit where people are talking about their dry eye. We're looking at different Facebook groups where people are talking about their dry eye. Taking a look at those peer-to-peer conversations and understanding people's experience before you go and put together a strategy on how to reach those people is the most important step.
Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani. Today we have with us Liz Presson. Liz is the founder of Pursuit, a consultancy firm transforming healthcare organizations into digital leaders by helping them to better engage with patients through digital communication strategies, programs, and awareness campaigns. Welcome to our show, Liz.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
My pleasure. So, was this your background? Were you in the digital space before you launched this startup?
I was in the digital space, but I had nothing to do with the healthcare space, which is really interesting that I found myself here. I was working on the technology side. So, the first job I ever had out of college was helping to build a software as a service for the automotive industry. And it was really a service for some of the big automotive players to connect their dealerships to a platform so they could have insight into what all of their car dealerships were saying on social media. And then it would also aggregate reviews from platforms like Yelp and Google reviews. And so I have that digital background, but really technology is where I was at before finding my way into healthcare.
Is there a story how you found healthcare to be the best option? Or is it based on your research when you were going into starting this business?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I became the director of marketing for a technology company called Digi International in Minneapolis. And they're a company that connects products to the internet, big enterprise level products like planes and GE's refrigerators to collect data, MRI machines. And so some of their clients, some of their customers, being a business to business company, were healthcare organizations, specifically medical device. So I mentioned like MRI machines, but other smaller devices. We can collect a lot of great data from them when we collect them and when we connect them to the internet. And I had worked with some of these organizations through my work at Digi International, and I started speaking at conferences, sharing some of these stories with other medical device companies. And so I had made some connections in the medical device space. And one of those connections was Oticon, which is one of the biggest hearing aid manufacturers. And they were having a hard time getting awareness of a bone anchored hearing aid that they had. And a bone anchored hearing aid helps people who are single sided deaf or they have conductive hearing loss, which means some of the hearing works. And so you can put a little device on the working side or on the non-working side, and it can, through bone conduction, bring hearing to the non-working side. And so I use my background in digital media as a freelancer for them to help build a community of patients, a lot of parents who had kids with this type of hearing loss, and really equip them with content to go amplify the information around the product. And I just realized in working with Oticon how much I loved working with patients, how much I missed my kind of B2C digital roots. And so that's how I found my way into healthcare. And really, as an entrepreneur, I always imagined creating a business where I would go out and I would seek venture capital. And as a young person, I was doing that type of hustle. But my experience with Oticon made me realize I could start an agency. I could do this kind of work. I don't have to wait for someone else to give me funds. This is something I could bootstrap. And so that was my entry into both healthcare and into a little bit of a different type of entrepreneurship, which has been wonderful for me because I didn't want to wait for anyone else. I wanted to really take that leap earlier on in life.
Cool. That's awesome. Welcome to entrepreneurship. What you're doing is actually amplifying the vision that most people have when they go into this side of life, I guess you would say, than working
Mhm.
9 to 5, which is nothing's wrong with that, obviously. But
Of
you're
course.
able to bring out that creativity that may not see that daylight. You know what I mean? There's a lot of uniquenesses that come out in a human being when they take on such a project, which you have. So kudos to you. About this product with the hearing aid, what I can envision you doing for this company, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm on the right track, because it's unique. A lot of people that can't go, for example, get a regular hearing aid, or if they get it, they have a lot of problems. One side is louder than the other, and this
Mhm.
bone apparently is connecting to the bone to be able to provide this more smooth experience that a lot of people may not know about. So you would create this social media campaign around it, a community around it, a website around it, do some ads, a brand awareness, influencer marketing, for example, and bring the attention around to connect those ideal patients to this new offering. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And it started very grassroots. I
Uh-huh.
connected with a few parents whose children were using the devices. I connected with a mom who actually found out that she had an acoustic neuroma, a specific type of brain tumor, when she was pregnant. And she decided right after she gave birth that she wanted to go into surgery to get the bone anchored hearing device so that way she wouldn't miss out on hearing her child and these very important first moments of her baby's life. And so I interviewed those people and did something similar to what we're doing here. Had a conversation virtually that was recorded and then shared that online and started to build a community. And then people would come and say, "Oh my gosh, I have a acoustic neuroma as well, and I have hearing loss from that. This story really inspired me." And so we were able to build this advocacy group. People had a really positive experience and wanted to share with others because of that positive experience. And so it gave us all of this great content and these really organic connections. And then we were able to bring them together online. And then we also brought them together in person so they could actually meet each other,
Mhm.
hear about new products, and we could equip them with information because this group in particular was a very digitally savvy social group. And so that's really the heart of what we do is we try to take these connections that are so meaningful and amplify so more people can benefit. And of course, in full transparency, the company benefits greatly from that as well. The product went from being fairly unknown in the space to being an industry leader. And it's all because of the power of the people,
Love
really.
it. Yeah, no, love it. Can you share another unique strategy or concept that you came up with when it came to bringing the brand awareness for a client of yours that could help another entrepreneur in the audience? For example, some kind of trigger, something that happened that allowed you to create this unique idea that brought everyone involved together.
Sure. The question makes me think of a client. There is a pharmaceutical company called Viluma in New Jersey, and they are working on an ophthalmic solution for children who have myopia or nearsightedness. Nearsightedness is, it's something a lot of us have experienced. It's fairly normalized in our society, but what we're seeing is that kids are getting way more nearsighted, way younger in life. And that's leading to really impactful vision issues earlier in life, earlier in adulthood, like glaucoma, retinal detachment, those types of things. And so during COVID, working with our client, we knew that this problem was only going to get worse because now you have kids who are on screens all day long for entertainment, for school. It just amplifies the issue even more because screen time can be um, impactful for nearsightedness. And so we decided to do a content series and a campaign where we had eye doctors who are willing to participate get on Zoom with children who have nearsightedness. And we recorded the conversations, but the children were able to ask the eye doctors anything that they wanted to about myopia or nearsightedness. So they were able to say, I have to go to school on my computer. So what should I do to make sure that my glasses don't have to get thicker over time? And that eye doctor answered their questions. And then we published those videos on a website called mymyopia.com, on YouTube, on Instagram. And that was something that was really just, it brought people together because we all had concerns about the amount of screen time kids were experiencing. And eye doctors certainly had concerns about what they were going to see when the pandemic was coming to a close in their office, knowing that there was already an epidemic around myopia going on.
Mm. Can you share an incident where you had a great idea like that and you went to started implementing it, but hit a challenge that derailed you and you had to figure everything out again? That may help someone in the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's a good question. So many. It's hard to pick a
Yeah.
specific instance.
Just something that comes to mind.
Yeah, working in healthcare, it is a very, as it should be, a very regulated industry. We have to be very careful about what we say and very careful about the kind of promises that we make. We also work in clinical trial recruitment. And so that's a place where I feel very passionately that I want people to understand that clinical research and participating in clinical research has really changed so much, and you're not a guinea pig. And it's a way to advance science and help our family members in the future. We've tried to do very similar things with the clinical research space, where we bring in patients and we want them to meet each other and to build that similar type of community that I talked about with the hearing aid company. But there are a lot of dangers there, right? Because if you have someone speaking about a clinical trial and they say, I think I might have gotten a placebo, then you have ruined a multi-million-dollar clinical trial. And so in those types of situations, what we've had to do is take a step back and really think about how we're going to create educational programs first to teach people how to talk about their experiences as a clinical research participant, and then provide the platform for communication and connection. And so that's one experience where especially as a small company, I'm always like, let's hit the ground running. Let's get this out. Let's make it organic. We don't need to be highly produced. But in that type of situation, you really have to roll back and think about, like I said, creating a different educational program before going live with that kind of thing.
So the learning or the lesson from that is start slow a little bit, just to do it more organic, to see how you can tweak it before you go all out online.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other thing too is when I first came up against that hurdle, I thought, this is over. Nobody's going to want to go through this educational process in order to share their experience. And I think what I learned was instead of making that assumption, I had great people working for me who said, why don't we talk to those people and actually just ask them, what are you up for? What are you not up for? How much time are you willing to spend? And so I think it's important. You get so excited about something and then you want to make assumptions. But I have found the best ways to start any project are to talk to the stakeholders. In my case, that's patients. Having conversations and asking questions and making sure that you're not putting your own bias into the mix. I think that's one of the most important lessons I've learned.
Excellent, Liz. Can you share any specific process that you follow to be more innovative for what you're doing? How are you mixing it for this specific niche in the healthcare, which is needed, especially when it comes to awareness campaigns? Is there a process that you follow on a consistent basis that help you come up with ideas to improve this that you're doing right now, or add on to it to give a bigger bang for the buck for the people that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most important part of the process is always doing that. I want to call it social listening, but it's a little bit more than that. Going out and seeing what people are saying and collecting really a lot of different quantitative data is great. Understanding different data sets is really wonderful. But I really find that when we're developing a strategy on how to reach a specific audience, going out and getting that qualitative information, going out to, I'm just thinking of, we're working on an eye drop for dry eye and helping reach more people who have dry eye. And so we're looking at conversations that are going on in subreddits on Reddit where people are talking about their dry eye. We're looking at different Facebook groups where people are talking about their dry eye. Taking a look at those peer to peer conversations and understanding people's experience before you go and put together a strategy on how to reach those people is the most important step. I think for our work in healthcare, it really doesn't matter what your industry is. There are spaces where whoever you're trying to reach are having those conversations, whether it's a subreddit or it's a conference where a specific type of professional is having a conversation with another professional. I think that's the most important part of our process. And the thing that, I've been in, Pursuit is going on year 11 this year. And so I think that's as technology has changed, as our client prototype has changed, that's the piece of the process that's just remained the same throughout those 11 plus years.
Mhm. And a similar process could be even followed, for example, pharmaceutical companies. If they wanted to see what's needed in the market, they could do something similar in the market research to have these conversations to find out what is needed. What should they add on?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Looking at the different conversations that are going on are really the best way to understand people's needs outside of having focus groups and the one-on-one interviews that would come after that.
Very good. Pandemic, was there anything that came up that you needed to pivot with? Obviously, I'm pretty sure there was, but is there something that happened or occurred in your business because of that impact and how you had to pivot to make things better?
Yeah, absolutely. So COVID was a big moment for Pursuit and really the different pharmaceutical companies that we work with. Everyone's focus really shifted to developing pharmaceuticals to help with the pandemic. And so a lot of the work that we had going on had to go on pause, which obviously was a very important thing as the pharma companies shifted their focus. And I think our job during that time really was to utilize all of the insights that we had garnered in amplifying messages and remind and educate our clients on what we had learned in talking to people about participating in clinical research. Typically, when a drug is in development, it can take 10 plus years to go through the development and clinical trial process. And we didn't have that type of time with COVID. And so we needed to communicate very quickly to people why it was important for them to go and try out these vaccines, report about their experiences, and what the upside would be for them. So that was a really important part of our work during that time. And then also, I think that the way that we shared healthcare, public healthcare information during that time is something that we should always be doing. And so that's what I try to remind the companies that I work with today is that we were very transparent about the benefits and risks of clinical research. We're very transparent about how these new drugs would help and how they would change the lives of people um, pretty immediately with what was going on with the pandemic. And I don't think that pharmaceutical companies have always been great at articulating benefits and risks in such a transparent way and talking directly to people. And so that's something that we carry through today is that direct communication, it works and it's necessary today because people see an ad and they know it's an ad. And I think it's really important for pharma companies and all companies to just get better at truly speaking to their audiences and not speaking above them and broadcasting to them, but having a conversation.
What do you feel your innermost superpower is that got you to this point in life?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that my innermost superpower is, it's maybe not an innermost superpower, but I love that connection between people. And I think for me, I love seeing it happen. And one of the things that is my biggest motivator is that I get to create my own team and build that connection internally and then watch those people do what they're great at. I love seeing people do what they're great at. And I love giving people an environment where they get to work from anywhere, that they get to have flexible hours, that they get paid well. Like that's what gets me up in the morning. And then the work that comes through on the other side is amazing and a great value add. What gets me up in the morning is giving people the opportunity to do that thing that they're the best at.
See them grow and empower them to do more,
Yes,
and just actually experience that together with them as a team is priceless. And
exactly. Absolutely.
love it. Love it, Liz. It was awesome talking to you today. It was great.
You too.
You took some time. Yeah, it was great that you took some time to come out on our show to talk about this, and grateful to have you. If there's anything else in the future that you're launching and you want to come back, please do let us know.
Fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun and I love the podcast. Thanks again.
My pleasure.